Reddit, what was your first love like? Story 1. He was my best friend, and the first boy I met when I entered university. I fell in love with him our sophomore year, but we didn't get together until the beginning of junior. He was everything I'd ever wanted: kind, thoughtful, attentive, intelligent beyond belief. Our minds were in sync almost all the damn time, and we used to be able to talk for hours on end. In the year and 2 months we were together, I had loved him with all my heart, and I was happy. We never really fought, and we cared about each other a lot. Things had been at a standstill for a while, and we were both busy and distant. A little over a week ago, he broke up with me. He said he didn't love me romantically anymore, and it tore me apart. It's still tearing me apart. I had sensed it slightly, but that didn't prepare me for the pain I'd feel, that I'm still feeling. What do you when, for more than a year, you wake up every day with the knowledge that someone loved you more than anything else in the world, and then suddenly one day he doesn't? We're still friends, but it hurts. It hurts so much. Edit, thank you everyone for the kind words. I'm so grateful Reddit is full of such nice people. Love, I still have class with him up until March, and our friend group is rather small, so I don't want to make it awkward for everyone else. So I can't just cut him off completely, even if I want to, but we're very distant right now and not really speaking outside of groups, so I'll be fine. Thank you again. Story 2. My first girlfriend cheated on me after 7 months of the relationship. It was the first time I had ever loved and had my love returned, so as you might understand, I was distraught, and I was for a long time. Sometimes you just have to let your body and mind takes its course. Feel the pain, let it leave you, be happy that you can still look forward to your future plans, loves and joys. Story 3. This hit home. My wife left me, seemingly out of the blue, a little over a year ago. I gave that woman all I had, loved her endlessly, yet it still ended. I had to come to terms with the fact that I'm not going to get any closure, and that it won't make absolute sense. This came after about 6 months of chugging bourbon and smoking all the weed I could find. One night after work, right before last Christmas, I had a few bucks and nowhere to be, so I went to the bar I ended up frequenting during the fallout. I met a girl that night. She was wearing a black hoodie with black hearts patches, Venture Brothers thing, and we ended up going home together. I'm still with her, and she's showing me that the love I thought I had wasn't healthy. I let things slide in my marriage. I put my music away so I could focus on work. I buried my own problems because she couldn't deal with them. This has gone on pretty far and I've long since started rambling, but the point is this: life has a way of making love the hardest and most rewarding part of living. I couldn't understand how you just stop loving someone, and I never could have fathomed loving anyone else. Yet here I am, better than I ever was, in a relationship that could not be more different from the life I was living 2 years ago. Keep moving forward, that's how we get somewhere new. Story 4. A very similar situation happened to me in college. We fell in love late freshman year, started dating, and were together all the way through the end of college. Things were always great, until towards the end senior year, when they were just sort of fine. We never actually fought, and we still enjoyed being around each most of the time, but looking back, it's clear we were both in a bit of a rut in the relationship. After a couple months of this, she broke up with me. Now, I was devastated, and it hurt so much, and so I tried to be friends and still see her. But that actually worked against me. Seeing her often just made everything hurt more, and it wasn't until I asked that we cut off contact with each other for a few months that I was finally able to move on, about 6 to 9 months after the breakup. Eventually, after that point, I realized that though it sucked, breaking up had been the right choice for both us. We clearly hadn't had the same feelings for each other as we once did for a while before the end of the relationship, and I had been too comfortable with the idea of the relationship to notice it. Once I realized this, suddenly it didn't hurt anymore, and I was able to get back in touch with her, and today we are still friendly, though we don't hang out very much. And it's okay that we don't hang out very much. We've both moved on to different points in our lives and have different friends, and that's fine. Had you told me that I would be okay with this situation 4 years ago when we were dating, I would have thought you were crazy. But time really does wonders in terms of healing you, and I'm actually happier now, in a new relationship, than I ever was with her. College relationships are always a little weird because you aren't really sure who you are and what you want at that point, even though you are convinced that you do, so you think you are so happy in a relationship, when in reality, though it is a good relationship, it could be better. Our flaw was that we were really codependent. I promise you that though it is not fun now, you will get past it and someday you will realize that breakups like these are for the best in the long term. Story 5. I got my first girlfriend by accident. A friend of a friend came to me and says, "Here's a note from W." I took the note. It was a profession of her love for me. Now you gotta understand I was a horny 14-year-old. I responded with some incredibly cheesy Elizabethan nonsense. I felt like a Romeo. Thing is, she never sent me the first note. Surprised face. So I basically just declared my love to someone who didn't know I existed. When I found out, I cried myself to sleep in the dorm. I was embarrassed. The next day she sent me a note. It was something to the tune of "We should meet up after class." So I went to the dorm and doused myself in cologne. Bulgari. I'll never forget it. I sprayed everywhere. My neck so she would smell it like an aphrodisiac when I hug her. My hair, I have soft wavy hair. I imagine she would play with it when we got to the point of the conversation where I would bring up the fact that I've got soft wavy hair. Did I tell you I've got soft wavy hair? My torso, I imagined after a little silver tongue-wooing, I would guide her head to rest on my chest while I stroke her hair. My pelvic area, surprised face I imagined I would guide her head below my chest so she could. I had an overactive imagination. This was going to be an awesome date. I would be super cool. I deserve a bucking Oscar for how cool I am. So super cool. At this point you know that I was a clueless idiot. So I got to class and she's seated at the corner close to the window. We get talking and out of bucking nowhere I blurt out, "I want to kiss you so bad right now." Her eyebrows said it all. It had that "you rapist" questioning furrow. I tried backtracking but it was too late. Surprisingly enough, she turned around and kissed me. My first goddamn kiss. Eyes opened. I had heard about French kisses. I tried to slip in the tongue, I was basically sucking her tongue. It was that awkward. A couple of minutes of my pig Latin kissing goes by and she says she wants to leave. So we stood up as I walked her to the class door, and there in all its glory, my heart on. Bucking hell. She came in for a hug. I had to give her the Christian hug, you know, arms outstretched with the space in between both bodies for Jesus, winky face. Yeah, that was my first date/kiss. We would break up 3 months later after I rejected her Valentine's gift because I didn't get her anything. The person she sent it to said it was the most awkward thing returning it because she was in the middle of discussing the gifts she sent to me with her friends when the gifts returned. I was an awkward little shit. Story 6. I loved more. I cared more. I couldn't help but throw my whole self into the relationship, even when he didn't. Even now I like to think I'm older, wiser and more cynical, but buck it, I'm still a sucker for love. It's irrational. Story 7. We were both 14 and clueless virgins. Our first time having sex she got pregnant, cue abortion. 3 months later her father died of liver cancer which left her an orphan. It was so incredibly heartbreaking I still don't even fully comprehend the seriousness of everything we went through at that tender age. Even 14 years later I think about her and wonder if she is okay and doing well. Story 8. I was a 15-year-old girl. I fell in love with my gay best friend Andy's older sister. She was 21, Scottish and very gentle. We started dating pretty much the day I turned 16 and got engaged about 4 months later. I thought I was going to love her for the rest of my life. I had never really been happy before that. She did so much for me, and helped me come to terms with so many things. She was sweet and kind and I adored her. We'd spend every Friday and Saturday evening together and then Sunday night we'd write each other a letter and Andy would pick mine up during lunch break at school and take mine back to her. We were together for 2 years, but we grew apart and we both changed a lot. We don't speak anymore due to the actions of a later girlfriend of mine, with whom my first love is, as far as I know, still friends. It's 13 years since we split up and probably about 8 years since we last spoke. I'm really sad about that sometimes, but I rarely think of her anymore. It was a long time ago. Story 9. Went to her house, she gave me an over-the-pants handy and I immediately asked her to be my girlfriend. 8 months later I realized that I loved blowjobs, not her. Story 10. She changed my life for the better. Brought me out of a deep depression that I thought I would never get out of. Made me smile and laugh when all I wanted to was cry. She literally saved my life by stopping me killing myself. My first love was the strongest thing I have ever felt, and lucky I still get to wake up every morning and see her smile, feel her hand in mine. It's perfect. If you made it this far, please consider pressing the subscribe and like button. Now continue to the video. Story 11. She was Brazilian, or Chinese, or something weird. I met her in the bathroom of a Kmart and we made out for hours. Then we parted ways, never to see each other again. Story 12. She was Asian, I'm white. It was your stereotypical he's not one of us type deals where even though I was madly in love with her and treated her amazingly, her parents still didn't let her see me more than once a week. It lasted 2 years. First year she was 17, second year she was 18, and even then it didn't change. I ended it when my best friend was basically dying. He didn't, thankfully. Sidebar, buck UMRSA, and all she coldly said, I don't know what to tell you. I noped the buck out because of the utter lack of empathy, how little she fought for me, and there's so little chance of surviving a relationship when the other's family doesn't approve of you. Story 13. Amazing. He smelled like cinnamon and hay. He lived right next door and he had a white steed. A noble one, if you will. We went through almost every major life event together. I took his virginity. His bottom lip was smaller than the top and I thought it was the cutest thing. Story 14. So pathetic, looking back. It was fun and romantic and I thought he was the one. I was like 24, but I was just ignoring red flags left and right. When he eventually cheated on me, I felt like I'd never be able to recover. It's kind of laughable looking back. I spent weeks coming home from work and crying in bed. I wish I could go back in time and tell that girl she'd laugh about this in a few years. I try to remind myself of that when things go wrong now. I still have a fondness for him. I'm not mad. I don't regret getting my heart broken. He taught me a lot about what to run away from. Pro tip, if someone tells you they're bad for you and you deserve better, they ain't lying. He also taught me to let my guard down, and that putting off having sex the first time in a new relationship is rarely a bad idea. I guess I'll always love him in a way, but in the sense that I love because of what he helped me become. Story 15. We were having a baby and unfortunately lost it. I booked us 2 plane tickets to rekindle our relationship, but she went on holiday before they were due and cheated on me. Man, that was a rough bucking year, but I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm hella strong because of it, and the life experience I have now, I'm only 21, is insane. Story 16. She went to the same high school I did. We were in the same homeroom. The first time I saw her, I knew she was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. She consumed my every thought. We spoke infrequently, as she had a boyfriend already, but my infatuation remained for the next 3 years. We had moments off and on where we'd make out, even though she had a boyfriend. This was probably unwise. She got rid of her boyfriend just in time for a school dance. I quit my job when my boss told me I couldn't have the day off to go to that dance with her. No way I was going to miss this chance. We started going out a few days later. Was ridiculously happy at first. The first time she held my hand when we were going out, I felt faint. Embarrassing to say that, but there it is. We lasted about 6 months. When we started college, she said she didn't want to be tied down by a boyfriend. A comment she vehemently denied on later conversations. Turned out I didn't really know her at all. Story 17. Magical and powerful. 5 years ago in October I met my so. I was a punky 16-year-old girl who loved biology and heavy metal. He was a pothead who loved rap music. He cheated off my test in AP biology and I caught him. I said he should buy me coffee if he was going to keep cheating off my tests. We were in love a few weeks later. We taught each other how to love and grew up together. He made me believe in love. Our love withstood a long-distance college relationship, it withstood jealousy, it withstood pain and loss. We have hated each other more than we have ever hated anything else in the world and come back. I love him so much it hurts. He is amazing. First love can be lasting love. Story 18. This is the 4th time I've tried to write a response to this post. To just answer the question, it was amazing and I'm incredibly grateful to have had the experience. It taught me a lot about who I am and what things are truly important. I'm not sure what else I can say that doesn't sound trite or cliched. Story 19. At the time I thought she was the one. I was 16 and she's 17. I had never kissed a girl before her. Neither had I ever masturbated. When I was sitting in my room playing StarCraft, and she texted me to say that she wanted to be my girlfriend, after turning me down not 2 days earlier, I remember pausing my game and staring at my phone. When she took my silence as assent, when really it was just shock, she followed the text up asking if there was anything she could do to make me happy. She repeated the question when I asked her what she meant. She said no when I asked her if she meant that we hang out tomorrow. She said whatever you want when after 10 minutes of fear, I asked she meant SX. CNTRL, Alt, Delete. I forget to tell her yes. I'm calling all of my friends trying to find a condom, since I was in a foreign country and didn't know where to buy them. None of them had any, and so I went on my adventure. 30 minutes later, I remembered to text her back. I found the condoms, and thus my quest to lose my virginity begins. SX was just as awkward as I was in getting there, but that didn't stop me from texting all of my friends about it with my new girlfriend laying next to me, most likely unfulfilled. I was too nervous to even try to kiss her for another month thereafter, yet she somehow indulged my awkwardness and stuck with me. I finally come out of my shell, and we proceed to have a crazy SX-filled relationship for the next 7 months, when I had to return to the US. We tried to stay together, but like most relationships at that age, long distance no less, it was not meant to be. But it was because of her that I developed even an iota of soul confidence. I didn't do it again until I was 19, but at least I had the courage to ask a girl out. It took me 3 months of being in the friend zone to ask my girlfriend at 16, and had she not basically put SX on the table from the get-go, I'm not sure if I would have ever had the brass to make a move. Story 20. I met my girlfriend on an online application, something like Tinder. It was originally a joke to have a good laugh with a best mate, but there was this one girl that just stood out. It was something magical. We started talking and we connected. She was having a rough patch because of her Crohn's and I was in a rough spot because my dad was in the hospital and it wasn't going that well with my anxiety disorder. We talked every day, all day, and we really connected. Fast forward a couple of weeks, after meeting each other and spending quite some time with each other. I asked her to be my girl and she said yes. This was the start of a relationship that was absolutely perfect. She was my soulmate. I gave her my all and never-ending love. I was the kind of guy that bought her roses, made her breakfast on bed, cuddled and gave her romantic kisses all day. I was there for her whenever her Crohn's started acting up. I set aside all of my own problems to be there for her, so she wouldn't feel alone, wouldn't be alone, and to just make her feel like she was the most amazing, most beautiful, and most appreciated girl in the whole world. I asked nothing in return, except for her love. Which I got. 9 months into our relationship, I started noticing some weird stuff, but I didn't think much of it after she proposed to go to London for our first-year anniversary. I was feeling magical. Forgot my worries and felt better than ever and just wanted to have the best time of my life with the love of my life in London. This was a week prior to our breakup. Fast forward to the following weekend. It was lovable as ever, but it felt one-sided. It was odd. All week long, she replied late to my messages, and when she was with me, all she had in her hands was her phone to talk with other people. She didn't really feel like cuddling at all, and it was just weird. The day after our weekend, that evening, is when hell and heaven collided with my heart in the middle of them. She decided it was a good idea to just bust it all out over a message application and tell me that she didn't love me anymore, just saw me as a friend, had been feeling this way for a couple of months, and finally had enough of it. Within 10 minutes. The love of my life, my soulmate, my one and only, my oh so beautiful girl that I still love so dearly much. Ended it. My heart got ripped out. And it hurts. It hurts so bad. And I am trying to cope, but damn I am failing miserably. Nothing matters to me anymore. I am currently at a stage in which I can only feel anger, resentment and blaming myself for things I didn't even do wrong. But what is even worse? She probably does not care. She is probably already meeting new people and doesn't think twice about me. It is just tough. To have woken up every morning for the past 9 months, realizing you have an amazing girl and you were so in love, and then, it is gone. Knowingly you'll probably never talk to her again, never see her again, and most importantly, can never hold her again. And that is what breaks my heart. I really hope this will not get buried. Stay strong everyone. Story 21. She broke me, for quite a long time. I hated my life for well over a year after she ended it and cried myself to sleep most nights. I completely lost motivation to do anything, spent all of my time just moping around in my bedroom and not interacting with people. At the time I really felt like my life was done with and I would be that miserable forever. I don't know when it started, but gradually the pain started to lessen. Very gradually. That was about 7 years ago. I'm a much more independent and confident person now than I was back then, and I'm about 18 months into a relationship with an incredible girl who loves me just as much as I love her. So if you're reading this and you are like 7 years ago me, just keep trudging through the shit. You can't force it to happen, but eventually the pain will start to go away. Story 22. Started in my sophomore year of high school. She was a freshman who I met through swim team, let's call her Erin. Typically in my school's swim team there were very few girls, she was one of 4 or 5, and caught my attention first. She was very awkward-ish at first. It actually turns out we went to the same middle school, were in the same track team, went to youth group together, and lived about a 5 minutes walk away. I would flirt by saying how you doin' like Joey from Friends, and she would reply, hands at her hip, smile on her face, really? That went on for a bit until I got her phone number from a mutual friend. We text back and forth and we stay getting close. So close actually that we would just text hi and I love you, back and forth. So for a few weeks I would hang out with her and take her to her next period class, and we would have a goodbye hug every time we parted ways. Unfortunately, being a selfish, emotional teenager boy, I began to feel neglected when she would focus on her friends more than me, so I became a little distant. It actually started with me ignoring one text, "Are you going to sit with us for lunch?" I just stayed silent, until swim practice. Erin walked straight up to me and said, "Why aren't you talking to me, are you mad at me?" Still no words from me. After practice she said something, "Do you not want to be friends anymore?" I just left head down. Soon after I left, I get a text from Erin, "If you don't want to be friends I'm just going to cut myself." This was an empty threat to get my attention. She is not that kind of person, as I have come to know. What the buck? This girl that I basically talked to for less than a month, is going to hurt herself because of me. I had never thought I would be such an important part in someone's life. I start to freak out, but I was still stubborn, so I text our mutual friend urgently to calm her down before I fall into bed, thinking she is better off without me. I can't sleep. I fumble through the night thinking, why me? Why am I so important to her? I can't handle it any longer. 5 a.m. I text her. To my surprise, she texts back almost immediately to, "I don't know what happened, but sorted itself out." This actually happened a few more times where we would nearly stop being friends, but pull through in the end. We were pretty stupid back then. We grow closer together. It became really obvious I had feelings for this girl. We've takes about it, but she values our friendship too much. I accept that, sort of. Valentine's Day comes and I wanted to surprise her, but I wasn't expecting her to fall for me. I show up to her house with a dozen roses and a giant stuffed dog. I expected a bigger amount of thank yous and a long hug. Instead, she told me, "Get out of here, I don't want you here." I was so confused and hurt. I said if I leave we're done being friends, and she said fine. I laughed. I don't understand how this happened, why she said things like that when all I did was show her I liked her. But after this we stopped being friends, for now. The rest of the school year passed without much contact. She told me how sorry she was and how harsh what she did was, but I couldn't forgive her for that, not yet. I did miss her, but I couldn't muster up the courage nor forget the pain. The later half of second semester I had to do the state writing test, and in a pitiful attempt to fix the friendship, I wrote it about her. I put in small details, like when she cried because she didn't want to do a 100 butterfly, and she hugged me in fear of failing. It was small stuff like this that I love and miss about her, even now. I made a copy of the essay and handed it to her, and she still has it to this day. It's full of cringe. Don't even bother asking for it. Summer passes and next school year arrives. I would pass Aaron in the halls every morning on the way to first period. We would wave hi and that would be that. It was a bittersweet moment. I guess we moved on now. We begin to talk again at the homecoming football game, which happened to be my birthday, but nobody remembers, so irrelevant information. I'm not a football person and neither is she, but it was nice being at a school event together. We talk, catch up a bit, we don't even mention what happened, it doesn't matter anymore. A friend of hers sees us hanging out together and asks, "Oh, are you and Aaron friends again?" Here I hesitate, were we friends again? What did she think? Before I could even think of a response she says yes. I give a half-hearted yeah, still a bit confused about our relationship. Before she leaves, she gives a quick hug. A good end to my birthday. For about a month and a half we make very small chit-chat. Swim season starts, and I try to get us back to close friend status. But, suddenly she felt distant. Her responses were nonchalant and short. Not wanting to make the same foolish mistakes we did before, I tell her either talk like we used to, or not at all, because I don't want to lose you again. She then tells me she didn't know how to act, because of what happened. I tell her that was all in the past, it doesn't matter anymore. We get back to being close friends, even better than before. Edit, I will be adding details as I remember them. A lot of stuff happened in these 3 years. Here's a TLDR, before I finish the story, gave me the best days and the worst days, and we were never together. Had to give up on her because it caused too much pain knowing we won't ever be together.